Hello my gorgeous friends of Webflow, it's your friendly neighbor Francesco from Supersider here. Ever wanted to add a glowing effect on logos on hover and wondered how to make them in Webflow? Today I'm showing you a completely no-code method. We will use move and scale transforms, the blur backdrop filter, and also some advanced and very powerful Webflow custom properties. And of course, we will mix everything with Webflow's animations and interactions. In other words, this will be another tutorial where we'll learn a lot of new things and how to put them together. And I'm really looking forward to sharing everything with you. So, if you're looking forward to it as I am, stick around, and if you want to learn more about Webflow or no-code tools, check out our courses on Supersider Academy. Link is in the description down below. And if you find my video helpful and want to support my work, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. But now, if you're ready, let's dive in. As usual, our first step is taking a look at the structure of the page to then jump into the heart of the matter. Understanding the structure helps us understand the principles behind what we are going to build, how things come together and interact with each other, and also what are the things I've added just for the sake of the tutorial, but aren't really necessary. In other words, I want you to acquire all the knowledge you need to recreate everything on your own and adapt it to the context you want to use it for. So we will first analyze the layout and the elements it is composed of, and then we'll build the animation together from scratch. Before starting, I would like to take a minute to explain that what you see in this page is actually the final state of the hovering animation. Why is that? And why this could be a good practice when building a rather complex animation? The reason is simple. By doing that, we can have a clear understanding of the effects the animation we're going to build will have on the elements within the page, because everything is immediately visible within the designer. And because of that, we can also easily tweak the values of the properties we want to target within the animation. In other words, it's a more efficient way to work in contexts where it's hard to visualize the effects of the animation we want to create. So, let's start from the section. We can see that its height is set to 100 VH. Does it matter? Not at all. It's just there for the sake of this tutorial. Then we can see that its position is set to relative. Same question. Does it matter? Of course it does matter. We will see why in a moment. Then we have the main container with a bit of padding, the height set to 100% and the maximum width set to none. But these are things specific to the context of this tutorial, so we can forget about them. Before opening our main container to reveal what's inside, let's take a quick look at what I called Glow Effect Outermost Blur. Its position has been set to absolute, and that's why we set the position of the section to relative. That is now playing the role of the reference element for this absolute positioned element. We picked the full option to make it expand to take all the available space inside the section. But the most important thing about this element is the blur backdrop filter property. 30 pixels in this case. This lets us add a blurred layer on top of the logo that's underneath, thus emphasizing the glowing effect during the animation we are going to create. We can see the effect of this backdrop filter on the elements underneath by toggling it on and off. We can also play a little bit with the opacity to see how this property affects the blur effect. We set the pointer events property to none just because by doing that we can interact with the elements below the blurring layer. This will be useful when creating the interaction, since we only want the animation to be played when we hover over the logo. Within the main container, we have the section content wrapper. No special things to highlight here. We just set the display property to flex, aligned everything to the center, and also set the height to 100%, just to implement this specific design. Things start getting interesting when we move inside the content wrapper. Here, the first element we meet is the glow effect wrapper. This will be the element we'll apply the hover interaction to. But this is not the only reason why we need to pay attention to this element. We have a few set properties here. The width doesn't really matter, and it depends on the design we want to implement. Same for the cursor property. Since I added this element as a div block but wanted to look like a link, I set the cursor property to pointer. That's it. But then, we see that its position has been set to relative. The reason is, the majority of the elements inside this div block have been absolutely positioned, and we want the glow effect wrapper to act as the reference element for our absolutely positioned elements. Inside the glow effect wrapper, we have a few elements that I called glow effect masked wrapper. The last one doesn't have any combo classes applied, but all the others have their own combo class. But let's start from the base class and see what we should be paying attention to. There's only one property we have explicitly set, the aspect ratio. Why 108 on 19? Is it a magic number? Yes, except that it actually isn't. It's just the aspect ratio of the image we are using as a mask. Eh? Wait, mask? What do you mean by mask? Isn't that Webflow logo just a simple image? Well, it is, of course, but it's not a usual image. But we'll get to that in a while. For now, let's get back to the ratio property. We said this value is the aspect ratio of the image we want to use as a mask. But how can we calculate it? Well, of course there are different ways to do that, but since we need the masking image to be uploaded to the assets panel, we can open it up, locate the image, click on the three dots icon, and then on Edit Settings. Here we can see the size of the image, both the width and the height. We just have to write these values into the aspect ratio property input fields, in the same order, and that's it. But now, let's take a look at the other glow effect masked wrapper elements. As we anticipated, they're all absolutely positioned, and they're all set to take up all the available space inside the reference element, which is of course the glow effect wrapper. The only differences among these combo classes lie in the opacity and transform properties. In order to create a glowing effect, we are assigning a progressively lower opacity values to these elements: 15, 10, and 4%. And we're also acting on their move and scale transforms to create a more engaging effect by progressively moving them down and creating a sense of depth. And now, let's open the first glow effect masked wrapper element and take a look at what's inside. We have an element that's called glow effect masked. As the name suggests, this is the element that gets masked by our logo image. So finally, we've got to the crucial and most important point of our layout. But before taking a look at the actual masking, let's say that the width and the height of this element need to be set to 100%, so that we can make sure it takes up all the available space inside the parent container. Also, we added a nice linear gradient, which is what gives this color to the logo image. And now, boom! Webflow's custom properties. These tiny little things at the bottom of the style panel are the ones responsible for the masking effect, and there are 3 of them. Let's take a closer look. The first one is called Mask Image, and as you might expect, is where you specify the image you want to use for the masking effect. How to do that? Well, first, let's say that in order to add a custom property, we have to click on this plus icon, start typing the name of the property we want to add, and click on it. Then we can start typing its value. For the mask image, this is the way to go. We write URL, then open parenthesis, then we have to insert the link to the image. We can grab that from the Assets panel by clicking on the three dots icon and then on Copy Link. Then we close the parenthesis. Next, we have the mask repeat property. This specifies how the mask image is repeated. A mask image can be repeated along the horizontal axis, the vertical axis, both axes, or not repeated at all. In this case, we just want the mask image to take up all the available space inside the glow effect masked element, and that's why we set the mask repeat property to no repeat, and finally the mask size property to 100%. Every glow effect masked wrapper element has a glow effect masked element with the exact same property values, which means that we're not using any combo classes in this case. What we notice though is that all the glow effect masked wrapper elements, except the last one, have a glow effect blur mask element inside, each one with a different combo class. But let's start by taking a look at the base class first. The width has been set to 90 VW. Why is that? This is a somewhat arbitrary value, and we only have to pick one that is reasonably larger than the parent container. We should do that because this element is responsible for blurring the content of the mask underneath, and we don't want the blur effect to be abruptly cut. And this is what would happen if we set the width of the blur mask element to something around 100%. We can quickly see that by setting the width to 100% and then reverting the changes by using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl or Command Z. We can also see that the position of these elements has been set to absolute, but there's something that could look a bit weird. Why has the left offset been set to 50%? Because this value, in combination with the move transform along the x-axis, set to -50%, is what allows us to center the blur mask inside the masked wrapper element. But now, it's time to move to the combo classes we're using for each layer. Actually, things are pretty straightforward. Each of them has a blur backdrop filter applied, and we go from 9 to 7 to 5 pixels. And now, the moment has finally come. We're going to build together the animation that will bring our glow effect to life and make it more dynamic and engaging. Now, the principle behind this animation is pretty simple. We want to take our 3 masked wrapper elements and we want to animate their move and scale transform. At the very beginning, we want them to line up with the logo on top. Then we want to move them progressively downward and scale them down. At the same time, we want the opacity of the blur layer we added on top of everything to go from 0 to 35%. So now, let's dive in. As we already mentioned, we want to apply the interaction, a hover interaction, to the glow effect wrapper element. So, let's select it, access the interactions panel, click on the plus icon, and then on mouse hover. We want to add an animation for the on hover state and one for the on hover out state. Let's start with the first one. Open the drop-down menu and select Start an animation. Let's click on the plus icon to create a new animation. Let's call the animation Logo on Hover. Let's take all the initial states first. Select the first masked wrapper element and add a move transform action. Then let's also add a scale transform action. Let's repeat the exact same steps for the other 2 masked wrapper elements as well. Then select the outermost blur element and add an opacity action. At this point, we can select all the move transform actions, and since we want these elements to line up with the logo on top, let's simply set the y-axis value to 0%. Similarly, select all the scale transform actions and set the scale factor to 1. Finally, select the opacity step and set the value to 0%. We said we want this to be the initial states of the animation, so let's select them all and check the Set as Initial State option. Basically, we're done. Now, let's start from the first layer and select both the move and the scale transform. Let's duplicate these actions and set the move transform to 35% and the scale factor to 0.95. Let's do the same for the second layer. But this time we'll set the move transform to 65% and the scale factor to 0.9. For the third layer, set the move transform to 90% and the scale factor to 0.8. Finally, let's duplicate the opacity action and set it to 35%. Now, let's make sure to place all these new actions onto the 0 seconds keyframe. Select them all except the opacity action and set the easing function to ease out cubic. And that's it. We can hit play or we can access preview mode to take a look at the animation. The only thing that's left is creating the animation for the hover out state, but this is actually super simple if you know how to approach Webflow's animations. After selecting Start an Animation, let's simply start by duplicating the onHover animation. Let's call this new animation Logo onHover Out, and let's open it up. Now, we first have to get rid of the initial states, since they have already been added to the onHover animation. Then, select all the move transform actions and set their value to 0%. Similarly, let's select the scale transform actions and set the scale factor to 1. Finally, set the value of the opacity to 0%. Boom! onHover out animation built. Now, let's go to preview mode and enjoy. Before we wrap up, I just want to show how this technique can of course be used to mask an image as well. We just need to select our glow effect masked element and change the background to be an image. And that's it. Well, in this case we should probably change the background color of the page, maybe pick a better image and tweak the blur a little bit, but you got the gist. And that's it. Today we saw how we can use smooth and scale transforms, the blur backdrop filter, and also the quite advanced masked properties to create a fancy glow effect. And we mixed everything with Webflow's interactions and animations to make it dynamic and more engaging. Of course, a link to the clonable for this project is available in the description down below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more Webflow tips and tricks. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Matane!